I'm Dr. Chamonix Blanche, ex-corporate and academical, turned CEO and board member of several companies and mother of 4 little extraordinary kids. But it wasn't that long ago that I lacked the confidence, the know-how, and the time to focus on designing and really going after the life that I so wanted to live. A life of freedom, of fairness, and of being fair dinkum to who I really was and what I wanted to get out of this fleeting time that we have on Mother Earth. Fast forward to many lessons learned and moving halfway around the world to the most amazing country, you'll see the life that I now live. One that gives me more safety and freedom than I ever thought would be possible, and that really only existed as a daydream while I was living in South Africa. I created Chamonix TV to give you true spot advice on how you can also live a life in this amazing country, and so that you can see how another couple like us now live in Australia with 4 little kids here in Down Under. And I'll be providing you with step-by-step strategies so that you can make your Aussie dream a reality too. If you're a keen future Aussie who's looking to create a life that excites you and offers you safety, freedom, and opportunity, you have come to the right place, my friend. Welcome aboard.
Good morning, Salome. Thank you so much for joining me in this beautiful morning. You're all the way from Brisbane. Do you mind introducing yourself to our viewers?
Yes, hi Chamonix. Thank you for having me. Yes, I am in beautiful sunny Brisbane, although today it's maybe a little bit on the chilly side. I grew up in Witbank, lived in Pretoria, and have been in Australia, mostly in Perth. We were in Perth for 11 years and just almost coming up to 2 years in Brisbane now.
Wow. Well, good people come from Witbank because I was born in Witbank.
Yes, good people come from Witbank.
And good people come from South Africa because we've got
That's
great
true.
South Africans who live in Australia now. So 11 years in Perth and then 2 years.
Almost 2 years in Brisbane, yeah.
Wow, time flies.
Mm.
And so that gives us 13 years. And any children?
Yes, so we have Mila, who's 9, and Elle, who is 6, and they were both born in Perth, and they are both little Aussie kids.
Can they speak Afrikaans?
We try. When we came here, I was like, my children will speak Afrikaans. They will. And Mila did when she was very little. And then as they went to school and as we just tried to make ourselves understandable, it's kind of like we just woke up one day and realized, oh my goodness, we are speaking English to the children. So now we, like on Sunday when it was Father's Day and we were sitting in a restaurant, we did joke about from now on, we're just going to speak Afrikaans to them. And I was amazed at how much Mila understands. Elle, the younger one, she can say, "Ek is baie lief vir jou," and that's about it.
Oh, but that's so sweet. At least she knows the most important one.
Yes, she does. And it's her party trick. Whenever we're talking to Oma or to family, she just goes, "Ek is baie lief vir jou." And then,
sweet.
They all melt and then they start speaking English with her.
I would melt too. Okay, so they were born here after you and Emil moved over.
Yes.
And when did you guys, you came 13 years ago. Can you give me a little bit of information about how that process worked for you? What did you apply for? Did you come with a job or did you use an agent? How did that work?
So we were one of the very lucky people that Emil was looking for a job overseas. Knew someone who worked for a shire, which is kind of like the municipality here. They call it a shire. And they were looking for someone with his qualifications. It was about a year, maybe a few months before the global financial crisis hit. So getting a 457 visa was still fairly easy. He applied for this job, interviewed, got the job, and literally and then they applied for our 457 visa on our behalf. They paid for us to move. They paid for my visa. We were just engaged then. So we ended up getting married here in Australia. Um, and we were very, very lucky in that they did everything for us, and we didn't have to deal with any agents or anything. We did about a year in. Emil wanted to move jobs, and he applied for a different job. We originally started in Margaret River, which is one of the most beautiful places. Yeah, most beautiful places, but just I couldn't find a job there. The population was 4,000 people at that stage. I'm a city girl. Like, it's nice to go and sit on the beach and look at the whales, but do you want to do it every day? No. So then he started looking around for jobs in Perth, and we did end up having to have them take over our visa, which cost a fair bit of money. But we did it all, and it worked out well.
That's great. And when you came over, what did you do at that point in time? Did you work? You
Yes.
said you wanted to work, but did you work in South Africa?
I did. I was a marketing manager in a pharmaceutical company. And so I did not have any, because we weren't married, I didn't have any qualifications that qualified for a visa. So we looked at every option available and ended up landing on an intent on marriage visa for me, which was interesting because it kind of put me in the same category as mail order brides. Yeah, it was funny. The stipulations were you didn't need to have ever met the man you're marrying. That was one of the. It was very funny. Wow. But we did, so I was working as a marketing manager. We applied for the intent on marriage visa, which meant that we had to be married within, I think, 9 months of me arriving here. Otherwise, I would have been deported. So when we got engaged, we started planning a beautiful wedding in South Africa. Then it got kind of turned on its head. We came here and we ended up doing a very low-key beach wedding in Margaret River on the beach, very small, and said to everyone back home, we'll come back and get married again there. But of course, once you're married,
sounds very familiar. Carl and
I did it again.
Thing, yes. then you'd rather take that money and go on a nice big holiday.
Exactly. Yeah.
Oh, how cool. Okay, well, getting married on a beach in Margaret River is pretty special too.
It was beautiful.
Yeah.
And we had the nice thing is we had the Afrikaans dominee, who was the minister in the local uniting church in Margaret River. So we were married in Afrikaans on the beach.
Awesome. And how many guests did you have?
I think we had about 30 guests, and I don't know any of them anymore.
That's okay.
We invited all the people that worked with Emil, and I was in the theater group. I joined the local theater group so we invited them, and so we had, and my mum flew out and Emil's auntie flew out. So we had some family come from South Africa, but other than that, we don't even see the people who were at our wedding anymore.
And talk about people who come here to come and visit you and you going back. Have you guys been back to South Africa much?
Yes. So when we first came out, we went back at least once a year, if not more than that, for the first, I'd say, 5 years. And once we had kids, it got a little bit harder. We decided to have kids and buy a house at the same time. And then I didn't work because I was on maternity leave. So we went from double income, no kids, to babies with a mortgage and one income. So that meant that the South African holidays got a little bit put on the back burner. But our kids have now been back with us twice. We were back just a year ago. We were there in September last year, and they love it. Every time we go, they absolutely love it. But it has become harder to go as a family of 4 than it was before we had kids, and it became easier for us just to fly the grandmas out here to come and visit us here than to take the whole family there.
Yes, that's one of the things that we found, that when we do go to South Africa, it's almost like you've got to race against time because you've got so many people to see and you've got the children to try and manage. Yeah. And if you're like us, we don't all fit into a straightforward car. We need to have a bigger car. It's just a rush. So sometimes it's easier to fly the family over this way. And then it's like everybody can almost like have a holiday and relax, and things can just go a little bit slower.
Yeah, exactly. So Go ahead.
Yeah, no, so when you go there, what do you bring back with you in your bag?
Oh, good question. A lot of Woolworths clothes.
Clothes.
A
Okay, good.
lot
Yeah.
of, yes. The last time I was there, I think my mum and my brother's eyes were big like this because I bought a whole trolley full of clothes from Woolies.
For yourself or
Um,
for the kids?
Mostly for myself, I'll be honest, but also for the kids and also some for Emil, just because Woolies, I mean, Woolies is, I miss Woolies. So lots of Woolies clothes. I remember enjoying shopping at other stores too. And now if I go in, then I'm like, oh, no. So I don't know if I've changed or the shops have changed, or maybe we both have changed, but Woolies just never fails to deliver. So I bring a lot of Woolies clothes.
It's interesting how the owners of Woolies in South Africa have bought um, our shops here.
Yes.
Oh
David
no, okay.
Jones.
David Jones. Thank you. I want to say Harvey
Yes.
Norman. I'm like, no,
Yes. No.
David Jones. But they haven't actually, in that I'm aware of, succeeded yet in making it a Woolies type of shop. So
No, they haven't. No, they haven't.
fingers
And I
crossed,
think
though.
yeah, and it's like they call it they call it a different brand, the Woolies clothes, and it's only available in some stores. So
Yeah.
you kind of have to go into the right David Jones and go and look for it to find it. So it's a bit of a mission.
For me, I wish they could have the Woolworths food department here because,
Yes.
oh my goodness.
I know. We
My
we
big
were at a
thing.
restaurant on Sunday and we ordered creamed spinach and that cinnamon pumpkin. And I was like, I remember how many of those Woolies, those dual packs. There's
Yes.
like cream spinach on the one and pumpkin on the other. Oh, I miss it so much.
Oh, those are the good days in that
Yeah.
regard. But I have to say, I'm sure my bum is happy that I'm not getting those
Yeah, my bum has
lollies
discovered
and
other things to be happy about too.
that's true. Yes, it's not like Australia doesn't have good food.
Oh
It's just
no, we
that
have really
we
good food.
remember specific things about South Africa. But now
Yes.
we found all these different things here. I've It might have been that South Africa has changed quite a bit since I left 15 years ago.
Mm,
And they might have a lot of these offerings now. But
mm.
in Australia, I find that we have an amazing variety of international cuisine that we can choose from,
Yes.
and good quality
Yes.
too.
Oh, amazing. The food, I feel like Australia made us food snobs and coffee snobs
Mm.
because the coffee here, and we travel a lot. And you know, when you go, you can, I feel like there's places in Europe where you can kind of get the same level of food as we do in Australia, but I always struggle to find good coffee, and in Australia you can find good coffee anywhere.
That's
But yeah,
true.
we are pretty spoiled with the international cuisine that's, you know, in basically a lot of restaurants. You can easily find a place where you can have a really good meal in Australia.
And talking about which, the good things in Australia, what's the best thing for you about Australia?
Oh, that's a good question. What's the best thing? I will say that I love raising my children here. I love the freedoms that we have here that I know that we wouldn't have in South Africa. I think the opportunities, one of the things that I'm so grateful that we live here is I've been able to build an online business that I learned from Americans and built on the American market. But if I'd been in South Africa and had to buy all the training I bought in US dollars and attend, you know, and fly to America to go and attend conferences, it would have been very hard with South African rands. So so I would say the best thing for me about living here is that it's given me an opportunity to build not just a life for my family, but a business for me that I run from home through the internet with, you know, an American clientele that would never have been possible had we not lived here. So it's just automatically just opened our world up to a lot of things.
So basically given you quality of life in that instance, because now you can do your day the way you want to do it.
Exactly. And I would never have even known that that's a possibility if I lived in South Africa.
Now tell us, please, what do you do?
I have a Facebook and Instagram ads agency, and I teach Facebook and Instagram ads for people who want to sell their own knowledge. So coaches or mums or anyone who feels that they have something inside them that they can teach other people, I help them build their audiences and launch their online courses with Facebook and Instagram ads.
And I have to say, you are really amazing in what you do, because I've been privileged to be a client or a student of yours. So I've been really enjoying working with you. Salome, tell me, well, I say Salome because that's the way I know you, but you've changed. Tell me about your name, because it's Salome here.
Yes.
Did the English-speaking people in South Africa call you Salome as well?
Yes, I had a friend growing up whose mum was English, and she called me Salome, and I used to think it's the funniest thing because I am Salome. But I lived in London for 3 years, and when I was over there, people started calling me Salome, and I would correct them, but then I realized they can't even hear the sound I'm making when I say Salome. Like that O sound is so unfamiliar. They don't even hear what I'm saying. So trying to get them to say it the right way is doesn't work. And then there's the European way that they say it in Europe, which is Salome. And so that just throws in a whole new confusion. So when we came here, when we made the decision to immigrate, I was just like, okay, I'm going to have to pick something that's easy to pronounce and just stick with that. And so that's how it became Salome. And
so does Emil call you Salome?
They do, yes. And now even my kids would say my mom's name is Salome. And I'm like, I want to correct them, but then I go, they're not going to get it. They're not going to get it.
That's good. And Emil's name, is that Emil? That's easy enough
Emil,
for everybody?
Yes. He gets called a meal regularly, as in you eat a meal. And he gets made fun of.
Yeah. Oh, well, don't worry. With my maiden name of Smallburger, I was everything from small burger to big Big Mac to everything else in the past.
That is hilarious. I will say our surname is Schillack, which I mean, Emil and I went to school together, and I remember as school kids going like, what is this weird surname? I can't remember how to spell it. I don't know how to pronounce it. And I will say that Australians go out of their way to pronounce it correctly and to remember how to spell it.
I think that's probably an easy one for them to be able to do. Do you think not?
I feel like in South Africa, people tiptoed around it, whereas here they make an effort to make sure they know how to pronounce it.
That's good.
Yeah.
Okay. And tell me, what's the worst thing for you about Australia? Or what annoys you the most?
The worst thing for me is I always feel a little bit like I've done my children and my parents in, with not being able, my kids don't know their grandparents well. They know their grandparents by talking to them on the phone. They know their cousins by talking to them on the phone. And I grew up with spending Sundays at my cousin's house. So I know, so that does occasionally, like I do feel like they're missing out on something, but then I also know that they don't know what they're missing out on. I know what they're missing out on, but they don't know it. So that's kind of, I would say, one of the big drawbacks for me, but I would still do it again. I would still choose it again. And then the other thing, what annoys me? I don't know.
Well, what do you miss the most about South Africa?
The vibrancy, the creativity of people, I feel there's a warmth, there's a culture, there's like, I feel with South Africa, it's a very abstract feeling, but I just feel like there's always music in the air and culture, and there's a vibrancy that's different here. It's not that it's not here. It took me a few years to pick up on the fact that it is here. We just didn't pick up on it because we weren't attuned to it. Yes. But it's just different. It's that creative. I miss going on safari. I miss going to De Wildtuin. The safari part, going to the bush, we miss that. Having, sitting around a campfire at night, we really miss that. And every time we do go to South Africa, that's the first thing we book.
Yeah.
I miss that a lot.
But you say you would do it all over again if you had a choice?
Yes, absolutely. Yes.
So for some South Africans watching this thinking, should I or shouldn't I make the move to Australia? What would you say to them?
I sincerely believe that it is an incredibly personal decision, and that people who have moved do not need to justify why they moved, and people who have chosen not to move do not need to justify not moving. So the first thing I would say is you have to make a decision and like your decision. Whether you choose to move or not, it has to be your decision, and you have to like that decision. And outside of that, other people's opinions don't matter, and other people's like thoughts and whatever, it doesn't matter. As long as you come to a place where you can say, right, decision is made, I'm going to stand by this, I'm going to own it, and I'm going to like it. Because I think a lot of confusion comes with when we go, am I not, am I going to do it, am I not going to do it, and for me it's been the best decision ever. For my husband, it's been the best decision ever. For my family, it's been the best decision ever. But it's because we like our decisions, and we stand by it. So that's what I would say to a South African wondering.
Well, it's important what you say, because you're the one living with that decision for the rest of your life. Nobody else is going to live in your shoes. So you've got to go to bed at night being comfortable with what you've decided.
Exactly. And you kind of throw those shackles off when you go, well, I've made this decision. It's made. I'm not changing my mind. And I'm standing by it, and I like it. Yeah. Because then it becomes light, and you start seeing it as an adventure, and you start having fun, and you start exploring new things, and it's not such a weighty thing anymore.
Last question. How do you see, or is there a difference for you in the work culture in Australia versus the work culture in South Africa?
Yes. One of my favorite things about the Australian work culture is that we don't work very hard. I remember my first job that I had here. We went for training. We had this whole induction and went for training, whereas I was used to starting a new job, you get thrown in the deep end and you got to swim. We came here and we were so pampered. And I remember I had to learn some new content and new stuff. And my boss saying, at any moment, if you feel overwhelmed, just let us know. I was like,
that's nice. What?
Like, overwhelmed? Is that an option to express a feeling of overwhelm? And then the other thing that I have adopted that Australians do is morning tea and afternoon tea. I did not know those things existed until I came here, where, 10 a.m. we need to take a break. We need to stretch our legs. We need to have a cup of coffee. And then, it's 3 p.m. It's afternoon tea. So yes, the work ethic is very different. But I will say this, what I learned from the Aussies is that the person who works the hardest is not necessarily the one who's the most successful. Whereas I feel like that was very ingrained in my thinking as a South African, is I have to always work hard. I have to hustle. I have to, be more and do more and show up more. And it almost gets put on a pedestal. The person who is the most burnt out is admired, whereas here burnout is not to be admired. And I have learned to work a lot smarter and to not feel guilty about taking time off and about resting. And it's been life-changing for me.
Yes, the work-life balance is really important. And I find that the companies here, because I'm involved with a number of different types of businesses, they all go out of their way in trying to achieve that for the people who work for them in whichever shape or form. Some might have extra time that you can take off from work to go and exercise. So if you put 1 hour of exercise in from your own time, the work will match it with 1 hour of their time.
That's awesome.
So so there are really a number of those kinds of perks, which I think are great.
Yeah.
Thank you so much for chatting to us today. It's been really great to hear your story and to see how you're flourishing, a South African flourishing here in Australia in an American market, which is really interesting.
Yeah, it's the Americans say I'm exotic, which I find really weird, because I I'm because of my accent, but also because I'm South African living in Australia, and they're just like, "Oh, exotic," and I go, "Okay, sure,
I'll take it.
I'll take it." Yeah.
Well, I hope you have an exotic day over in Brisbane. You're in the right location to be exotic anyway.
I am, yeah.
And thanks again for chatting us. I'm sure you'll help some of the people watching this to make a decision
welcome.
Either way. Appreciate it.
You're welcome. Take care.
Thank you, you too. Goodbye.
Bye.
All right. So thank you so much for joining me today. If you had fun, please remember to hit that subscribe button, and then it'll make sure that you never miss a thing. I'll see you same time and same place next week. Bye for now.